Hey everyone, this is Matt from End Sickness. Today I'm going to be talking about the top 3 causes of mast cell activation. This is a video that you have to watch if you're dealing with MCAS. I personally dealt with MCAS myself. My daughter did, where she was completely disabled. I've worked with plenty of clients who have had MCAS. This is my niche. I focus on MCAS and histamine intolerance. And so let me get into the video here. So what people think about MCAS often is that it's caused by parasites or it's caused by infection or Lyme or something like that. When in fact, there's 3 main causes to MCAS, okay? Number 1, all right, is what we are consuming, okay? And that is typically eggs, nuts, seeds, dairy, gluten, too much meat, processed foods, spices. These are the things that are all risks when you have MCAS because dysfunctional gut microbiome and all the things that are going on. Number 2, okay, number 2 thing is environment, okay? Environment in terms of mycotoxins specifically. People say, oh, I don't have mold in my house. Oh, yeah. Mycotoxins are different. These are the toxins that are produced by mold. So when you go in to get your house measured with, an air test or something like that, you say, oh, I have no mold. It's just not that simple. Okay, I'll explain more in the video here. Number three thing is going to be our limbic system or stress. Okay. So whenever we have stressful events or we have past trauma that we've had unaddressed, then we have reminders of it in our current environment, and then we end up getting stress, and this stress and state of fear and danger and threat reinforces the symptoms, feeds into certain thought loops, etc. So let me go through these in more detail, okay? So I want to make it real clear. I am not a medical doctor. This is not medical advice. This is for informational and educational purposes only, and this is based on my experiences. So number 1, the diet, okay? When people have mast cell activation, they're almost always coming to me and saying, hey, I'm eating 6 different foods and I'm eating meat 2 times a day or something, or 2 to 3 times a day. And it's the same scenario over and over again. This food, you have to realize when you have a compromised gut and a compromised immune system, you do not want to eat the foods that are hardest to break down, that take the longest amount of time, the most digestive effort to break down. What people are doing is they're eating meat 2-3 times a day, and then they become reactive to all these different foods, and they think it's not the meat, it's the other foods, right? Well, what I see over and over again is when we remove the meat, we gradually cut it back, and we increase the plants, we increase the plant fiber, we start to diversify with the plants gradually. Next thing I know, the person's went from 4 foods to 20 foods, right? And the reality is, the meat is often the main irritant in place that's keeping people from not progressing. Because when people usually contact me, they have already removed the dairy, the eggs, and nuts, the seeds. I mean, usually, sometimes they have the nuts and the seeds, but usually the dairy, the eggs, the gluten, they've removed those at least. So you really got to watch out for the nuts, the seeds, processed foods, the meat, right? It may seem like a really restrictive diet, but really this is the point, is that you're in this situation. You have to accept that you're in this situation, okay? So you have to do what's within your control, okay? Focus on what's within your control. What are you consuming, okay? Now, when you're consuming these things over the course of 60 days, you become more and more tolerant to them. You become less reactive to things in general. Not only are you doing better with your overall flares, but now you're just not reacting to foods like you were before. Now you're eating 20 foods, 30 foods. That's what you have to do to set up the recovery for mast cell activation. You can't keep eating the same 4 foods or 6 foods and have meat 2-3 times a day. You'll be stuck there forever. Trust me, I went through that. I was down to 4 foods for years, right? Years before I got the colostrum and got out of that house that had mold. So number 2 thing, I'm going to move on from diet to environment. Number 2, the environment. This is what's misunderstood about the mold concept, okay? Almost everybody who has mast cell activation syndrome has had some degree of exposure, significant exposure, and now their body is reactive to mold, right? Now, does that mean you always have to move, or is it always the number 1 thing, mold? No, it's not, right? But sometimes it is. Sometimes your sensitivity to mold is so significant that you can't get better living in a certain environment. I saw it with my daughter, I saw it with myself, I saw it with a lot of clients. But on the other hand, if you do the right thing with the diet, you do the right thing with the stress, the breathing, the things I'll talk about, you can become less reactive to the mycotoxins. Let me explain what you're actually reacting to when it comes to this mold thing. It's not the mold, it's the mycotoxins. And it's not even the mycotoxins that are a problem. It's the antibodies that your body has produced to the mycotoxins that are now the problem. So what happens is, you know, you get exposed, you produce these antibodies, right? The immune system produces antibodies, and then it has a memory of what it was exposed to, and then you keep on inhaling it on a daily basis, and you wonder why you're reacting to everything. Well, it's because you're inhaling something constantly that's triggering you, right? So the reality is, you know, I help people understand, is it something that is an immediate issue that you have to move to get better or not? 9 times out of 10 it isn't, right? You can get through it without moving right away. You could at least make a lot of progress, or at least get to a point where you make a lot of progress and then plateau, you know? But the reality is the mycotoxin thing is a big deal. The only way you could figure out if it's really actually a big issue for you is by doing the mymycolab.com test. I do not work for them. I don't get any commissions, nothing. But this is the only test that will measure the IgG and IgE antibodies to mycotoxins specifically, and then that is definitive. The immunoglobulins don't lie. If you have high levels of, you know, vomitoxin or T2 or whatever it is, and it's through the roof there, you have these antibody levels through the roof, and it's IgE report, then it shows right there at that point you're reacting at that moment to this thing in excessive amounts, so it's present. No matter what, it's present in your home. So I'm gonna move on to number three. Number three, okay, after the environment is stress, okay? This could be past trauma that you are reminded of through different things that you see in your environment. It could be current stress in work based upon some storyline, their expectations that you have, you know. It could be personal, it could be any type of stress. You could be over-exercising, you could be not sleeping enough. It could be, the idea is that it's all about balance and it's all about emotional regulation, okay? What I help people do is we go through the constant thought loops and we discuss what are the things that people are thinking. We go through them and realize that most of these things are based upon past events or future events that have no guarantee that they're going to happen, and people start to deconstruct these thoughts so that people have tools whenever they have intrusive thoughts to be able to deal with them and know how to use them for their benefit, where they have a positive affirmation that they reinforce that helps them feel better. So this is what I do with people, but you got to realize mast cell activation is caused by what we're consuming, what we're inhaling, what we're thinking, okay? Yes, there's a time for supplements. Yes, there's a time for prebiotics, for the colostrum, for the restoring the key nutrients, for all that. But not really until you address what you're eating, what you're inhaling, and you do something like the slow, deep breathing, some meditation. You start doing some self-care routines, start implementing some consistent self-care routines. Get your body to calm down, get out of fight or flight, get in the right cycle, etc. Then let's promote some healing through the supplements. Otherwise, what we're doing is we're consuming supplements, and that we're just trying to cover up the mistakes we're making in our current lifestyle, in our current environment, or with our thoughts, and that's not going to produce long-term healing. It's not going to produce consistent results. So this is how I approach things very differently than anybody you're going to run into on the internet. This is why I'm successful in this. Feel free to reach out to me. My website's endsickness.org. I have hundreds of articles on there, and I have hundreds of videos too. You go to my YouTube page, go to my website, whatever there. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.